A California judge is weighing whether the Menendez brothers should be resentenced after a judge denied the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office request to delay today's court appearance. Erik and Lyle were convicted of killing their parents in 1989 and are serving life in prison without the possibility of parole. But if they are resentenced, that could change. They could even go free. Let's go to CBS News correspondent Carter Evans at the courthouse with some new developments. Carter, what's playing out so far?
Yeah, big twist right now. We're in a recess while all sides in this hearing are contacting the governor of California. Now, I'll get back to that in a second as to why they're doing that. But first, I want to point this out. So there are two paths to freedom for the brothers, right? One is this resentencing hearing. They could be resentenced to a lower sentence, possibly life with parole, and then they would get paroled. The other path to freedom is clemency from the governor's office. And as part of that inquiry, the governor had requested that the parole board basically do a comprehensive review of these brothers to determine if they're safe to release back out into the world. Now, that is for the clemency part of this. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the court here. However, earlier this week, the district attorney received that report, that comprehensive report on the two brothers, and the DA's office has looked at that report and basically said, hey, maybe we should postpone this a little bit so the judge can also read this and take this into account because there are some facts in here that people might want to know. Well, the defense attorney, Mark Garagos, said absolutely not. We don't need to know about that at all because this was for the clemency argument and it has nothing to do with what's going on in here. But then the judge said, I can't ignore this. I can't ignore this. We don't know what's in this report yet, but the governor's office said I could take a look at it. It might have something in there that's very good about the brothers. And then what if I rule not to resentence them? Then there's going to be a lot of angry people on that side. Or what if I do rule to resentence them and we find out that there's something really bad in there? So we can't ignore that at this point. So that's when they decided that they're going to go contact the governor's office and make sure that they can legally use this report in this court proceeding. Now, to take this on a whole nother turn, Mark Garagos, the defense attorney, has said that he is going to now ask for a continuance to delay this even further so that they can take a look at this report. But he's also going to move to have the DA's office recused from this case altogether because he says they have it out for the Menendez brothers, and also the district attorney himself did not disclose that he lived in the same neighborhood and went to the same high school as the Menendez brothers at the time all this was going on. You got that?
Yeah, I have about 1 trillion questions for you. Okay, so that part about the defense attorney for the Menendez brothers asking for the DA to be removed from the case or recused. This newly elected DA, correct me if I'm wrong, is striking a very different tone when it comes to the Menendez brothers and whether they deserve freedom than the previous DA. Am I right?
Yes, the previous DA had basically said, look, these guys deserve a shot at freedom. They should be resentenced. They have really changed since they've been in prison. And we want to move for this resentencing hearing. In fact, the previous DA supported that. Then the new DA comes in and says, you know, that previous DA, he really didn't look at everything that's gone on there. And one of the requirements for these two brothers to be released is that they take full responsibility for their crimes, which he says they haven't done. He says as recently as the Netflix documentary last year, the two brothers were still holding on to their defense claim, that they thought that their parents were going to kill them on that night of the murder, and that's why they murdered them. And the DA says, look, we know that's not true. The jury believed that wasn't true. Appeals courts, Supreme Courts have ruled that wasn't true, that was a lie. But the only people who haven't come out and said, hey, we lied about that aspect of self-defense is the Menendez brothers. Well, their family says that's not really true. They spent the last 30 years being good citizens, and they have come to terms with their crimes, and they have apologized for it. So that's kind of where we are right now.
So make sure I'm following. We're waiting to hear if the governor's office is going to allow the judge and the defense attorney to read the report, to include the report in these proceedings. And also, my last question to you is a twofer. As part of the resentencing, is it a guarantee that they would go free, or could they still be sentenced to a longer amount incarcerated?
Yeah, well, that's a very interesting question that you asked because it brings it all back to the parole board. Either way, let's say that this resentencing hearing goes on and the judge says, yeah, let's have him resentenced. Well, then it goes to the parole board for a review.
Okay.
So the parole board is going to be involved in this one way and the other, but these are two distinct separate paths right now. This review that was done for the clemency case has nothing to do with this resentencing hearing, but this review will be done by the parole board if the brothers are resentenced. I know it's a little confusing, but it's very interesting what's occurred here, and it's basically turned this whole thing upside down in a matter of hours.
Well, I'm easily confused. You've explained it very well. Carter Evans, keep us posted. Thank you.